Hey guys, Chef Hawks here again. We are here for chapter 2 in our ProStart adventure. And so we're talking about career opportunities. So if we look at the whole hospitality industry as a whole, it's incredible just the variety of opportunities we have. Maybe some things that you didn't quite expect. You may not be planning on being a chef, or you may not be planning on being a front of house manager or a server or anything else like that. You may be surprised just to see what's going on in hospitality and just how broad of a marketplace it is for opportunities when you're choosing your career. So let's get started.
I run a great team of people across 30 countries in Europe and look after over 225 hotels.
Being with guests, managing people, managing teams.
So I look after the bar, restaurant, conference and banqueting.
I have to manage 30 chefs, make sure that the quality of the product is perfect.
My job is to greet the people, give them a great experience and make their journey unforgettable.
There's plenty of career progression for those that are committed, passionate and determined to succeed.
What I love about Hilton that you can work anywhere in the world. You can work in Indonesia, you can work in Thailand, you can work in the United States of America.
There is lots of different roles in hospitality. I started as a food and beverage assistant, then I moved to front office, and in 7 months I became front office shift leader.
A great example of somebody who's risen to the top is Dave Horton. He started out as a bellboy and now he's the senior vice president for the Hilton brand on a global basis.
If you are hardworking and determined, you can achieve whatever you want in hospitality.
Cocktail mixologist, butterfly keepers, you name it, hospitality's got all the jobs. The best thing about working in hospitality is the team spirit and the variety of cultures.
Every day it's different and I'm meeting different people, and that's what I love about my job.
My most exciting day was when the Formula One Ferrari team stayed in a hotel. We served them in a breakfast. After a few hours we saw them on the TV, and that weekend they won, so they came back and they celebrated here and it was just amazing.
The best part is the variety, but also about working with people that do so many different things.
My dream hospitality job is to be a hotel manager somewhere in sunny Florida, enjoy the lifestyle and enjoy the world.
I think I have already a dream job, but my next dream job would be to open a hotel.
I've already got my dream hospitality job.
You need to be an example. People need to believe on what you say and what you do.
In our leaders, we're looking for personality, passion, determination.
You need to know what you want, you need to have a great teamwork skills, and you need to be ambitious.
Someone who has passion, who is motivated every day, who can deliver good standards and who can lead the team.
Remember, when you come to an interview, look smart because you're going to be serving guests and looking after our customers.
My top 2 tips for coming for an interview are to prepare, so you know what the hotel or the industry is about, and also to prepare examples that will demonstrate your passion for the industry.
I like people when they ask questions about the menus, the product that we use, the way that we work.
Ask about what the main objectives are and what would be expected from me in that position.
I was prepared, I looked smart, and I got the job.
So, are you ready for the hospitality industry? So let's take a look and just see some of the breadth of opportunities there are all around. And we're going to delve into a few that you may be a little surprised about too. But let's start off with the ones that we're a little more familiar with. So we generally class our main areas in hospitality in 2 main parts here. So we have the front of house. Front of house is where the guests get to see everything. So that's when we're serving the guests directly right there and then. So you've got all the managers you need, the assistant managers, the hosts, all the servers, all of the individuals who will be directly taking care of the guests are in that area. The back of house is where where you're going to have individuals like chefs, dishwashers, purchasers, other individuals who are behind the scenes, the people who take care of that establishment. It could include people who do the plumbing, who do the electrical, anything that's back of house, that's behind the scenes that you don't get to see as a guest, but that's vital to keeping that operation working. The third little part in here that we have is about if you possibly have an exhibition kitchen. So this is where you would have maybe a chef's table or some kind of a setting to where guests get a little glimpse of what's going on in the kitchen. So this is actually a very popular thing that's exploding all over the world now, where people want to have a look and see where their food's coming from. They want to see about the techniques that are being used and the methodologies that chefs are using. And so more and more now, one of the primary seats for a high-end restaurant would be one that can actually see into the kitchen, and that can be called an exhibition kitchen, or it could be the chef's table or something along those lines, where it's showing off just what the chefs are capable of. When you have something like this, it's very important that the chefs who would be exposed to this type of setting would get more customer service training, because if they're going to be dealing with the customers where they generally wouldn't, then they may be lacking in those skills. So that's an important point to note. So we generally would start off with some entry-level positions in what we're going to be doing. So this normally means that most people, when they start off in the hospitality industry, they start off near the bottom. You may have qualifications in certain things, but employers, without knowing that you have any experience, are going to be less willing to let you loose on their customers and on their guests if they don't know if you're going to have the right kind of attitude and the right kind of capability to do everything that needs to happen. So generally an entry-level position is what you would start off with. This requires little or no previous experience. It's very important to start from here, because this allows you to make mistakes. It allows you to start off with an understanding that you're just getting going. But it can lead very rapidly to some really great positions after that if you prove yourself, if you have the skills that you learn and the attitude to go along with it, that you're a go-getter, you want to make things happen. But so we start off generally, it would be a host, a busser, a server, this type of a position that you would be starting off with. Let's take a little look at some more.
Your first job is typically an entry-level position, one that requires little or no previous experience. Your first job is also a starting point in the industry and can lead to bigger and better opportunities. Everyone has to start their career somewhere, and in the restaurant and food service industry, you'll have plenty of options to choose from. Entry-level jobs are a huge part of any organization. Whether you are in the front of the house or the back of the house, learning and growing in these positions is a great experience. One of the front of the house jobs is the host. The host plays a huge part in providing great customer service to guests. They are the first impression as they greet and seat patrons, and the last thanks as they bid guests farewell. Hosts also assist guests with their coats or other items to be stored while they eat, take guests to their table, book reservations, answer phone questions about the operation, and offer any other assistance that could contribute to a pleasant dining experience. Cashiers help process guest, check, and bill payments. Often, they serve alongside the host in offering farewells and thanks to exiting guests. The server is the main point of contact after the customer is seated, until they leave the establishment. The server greets the guests at their tables, takes and serves orders to the guests, checks on them throughout their dining experience, and delivers the check to the guests at the end of the meal. The server's objective is to provide an excellent dining experience by making the customer happy. In quick service operations, the counter server has similar responsibilities to a server and a cashier. Guests line up to provide their orders, so the quick service counter server greets the guests, takes and often serves the order, processes payment, and thanks the guest, all delivered in a shorter period of time. The counter server wears multiple hats. Bussers are responsible for clearing plates and tables during and after the meal. The busser also sets tables for when new guests arrive. Now, to the back of the house positions. Prep cooks help more experienced cooks and chefs prepare and cook guest orders. They also portion out food, pre-cook food, and prepare ingredients ahead of time, such as peeling potatoes. The duties assigned typically depend on the size and type of menu an organization has. Dishwashers help clean and sanitize dishes, utensils, and equipment. From the clean dishes needed to present meals to the sparkling water glasses used to set tables, dishwashers support all parts of the operation by making sure the staff have what they need to service guests. Entry-level jobs lead to other opportunities. Choose a starting point and work hard to learn the skills and experience it takes to move to the next level. Remember, these jobs are important to the whole team and operation. They can't do it without you. Your contribution is as valuable to their success as it is to yours.
So absolutely, those entry-level positions are absolutely vital to an organization. They generally should have great respect for those entry-level positions, because if they're not filled and operating appropriately, you're going to have failures in your organization, because you won't be able to have some of those smaller tasks taken care of in order for the other individuals to take care of their more predominant tasks. But the fact is that having a reservation appropriately taken, or having someone greeting people at the door, and doing all of these possibly considered simple tasks, if they're not done right, then the worst impression can come over on your organization, and you can have a failure right from the start. So let's take a look more now broadly at the idea of a career. So what is a career? Well, so this is where you would choose a profession, a certain type of job in a particular field. And so where we're looking at culinary or hospitality, it's huge and wide and varied. But so in order for you to choose something, you have to choose something that you're going to love. And this is where you're going to want to choose something that you enjoy, that you're going to master. You're going to work on your skills and hone those skills for years and decades to come, so that way you can be an expert in that. As you're advancing in your career, you'll be taking on new responsibilities. At the beginning of your career, you may see it as an impossibility to be able to fit all these things in that a boss or a manager may ask you to do. But the fact is, over time, when you become more advanced in what your role is, you can take on more and more tasks, and you can find an amazing amount of efficiency in what you'll be able to do. So you want to look at a career pathway as a possibility of exactly how it is you get to where you want to be. So if you want to be an executive chef, then you need to look at what will your pathway be to get there. Because you're not going to come out, even if you come out from culinary school with a degree in culinary arts, you are not going to be going straight in and being an executive chef overnight. It just doesn't work that way. You have to gain more experience to be able to master your techniques and your concepts on things, to be able to actually get to where you want to be. So this is where you may need to look at having a series of jobs. And so one after another, you need to carefully choose what's your next possibility. So you may start off as an apprentice chef, where you're just starting off as an entry level. You're just learning about new techniques, about how to use the knives, how to use the equipment. You may not know an awful lot about pairing different foods together and creating menus, but over time you will. Then you might want to step up to being a commis chef, and then to being a chef de partie, where you're in charge of a section, and then you move on to being a sous chef. That's where you're now second in command in a kitchen. You're taking on the responsibilities of what a head chef, an executive chef, would have if they were to step aside, or if they were to have some time off. Then you would now be in charge. And then finally you'd be stepping up to be that head chef or that executive chef in that position, where you are in charge of that entire kitchen organization. So you always want to be looking on how you're going to be able to advance your career, but do it in a smart fashion. Always be looking at, will this next movement create a positive for me long term? because you should never just choose something just because they might pay you more money. Money may be of interest at first, but over time you want to be able to choose to where your career advances, because the money will follow as your career advances. So something that's really important as you advance in your career is communication and teamwork. So you have to have some certain skills and capabilities that you need to develop over time. So that includes things like writing, being able to speak in front of people, reading things efficiently and understanding it and comprehending it, and being able to listen. If you're going to be a manager or a supervisor, you must be able to listen to what people tell you. If you don't, then you will find that you'll miss on certain things which people are trying to tell you about, and it may be something important that you miss and ends up getting missed and could be a damaging thing to the organization. So you need to be able to understand and follow directions. So you must comprehend when someone's asking you or telling you to do something or to not do something, or if they're telling you to not allow your team to do something, you must make sure that you understand and comprehend and follow those directions. You must be able to complete your share of the workload or more. And this is where it comes into having a great attitude. Sometimes you have to really push hard to be able to get where you need to be, because it may be that you have an excessive amount of workload, but sometimes that's what's needed to get an organization to where it needs to be. So how do we do this? Giant thing, and I cannot emphasize it enough: positive attitude. It's incredible how if you walk into work every day with a smile on your face, even sometimes when you don't really want to have that smile on your face, it will change the people around you. It will change the team that you work with. And if that team is working for you as a leader, then it's incredible how much more they will follow you and they will have more enthusiasm as they're doing it. You should be enthusiastic and optimistic about the future. Even if you know you have some challenges coming, maybe with a busy service up ahead that night, if you tell your team you believe in them and that we have a system in place so that we have the capability to make all of this work and to have a successful evening shift, then they'll believe you. And you have to make sure you follow through and help them to achieve that. But the fact is, by doing that, by creating that enthusiasm and the optimism, you can really do an awful lot more than you may be thinking. So it can be extremely challenging, but at times that can be the most pleasurable thing, is at the end of the night when things went well, you can sit back and you can say, you know what, I wasn't entirely sure if that would work, but it did, and we did it as a team. You have to have that willingness to learn. Every single day of my career, and to this day now, I learn things every single day. Sometimes it's you guys, my students, who actually teach me something new. When I see something that you do, or if I hear you talking about an experience you had, I learn new things every day, and you should never consider that you would ever stop. So new skills and techniques come along all along the while. Sometimes they come from new technology. Sometimes it just comes from an old, out-of-date thing that has been long forgotten, that maybe reworked and is brand new again now. You should always be open to trying out new techniques and new thoughts, being flexible, being open to possibly some new technologies coming along so that you can learn more every day. Technology can be a huge challenge though. So you have to have at least a basic computer knowledge. Everyone has their Chromebooks at school. You may have had some experience with a laptop or with a desktop computer as well, and with the software that drives some of that. The fact is, every place that you go to, they will generally have a point of sale system of some sort that's used to ring in orders. You may have to directly work with that. You may have to program it. You may have to be on the opposite end of it where the orders come into the kitchen. And you have to be able to decipher exactly what's going through that system to have everything work at the other end. So you must have at least a basic computer knowledge of every type of requirement that you're going to have in your job. You must be open to that. You have to be willing to be able to flex a little and learn some more. You may need to also understand your learning technique too, whether you are a visual person, an auditory person, or a kinesthetic, hands-on type person. It can help when it comes to learning new things that you may struggle with, to know exactly the best way for you to learn. You have to have at least a basic understanding of math. So whether you're in the front of house or back of house, you will be using math. And this may make some people cringe. People may feel uncomfortable that, oh, I just hate math class. It's okay. Don't worry so much about what you learned in math class and what you may have struggled with in math class. Because now, either in the kitchen or in the front of house, you're going to be using math, but it's math that's relevant to your daily organization, and it may possibly be math that directly relates to your pocketbook, and that can include things like tip percentages that you may be personally benefiting from. It may be things that you need to order. If you're in charge of ordering certain products, if you order too much, you may not have enough room to store it. You may be using too much of your business's money and tying it up in certain products that you don't use very much. It may be that you need to count products if you're doing inventory, or you may have to be able to weigh them and measure items so that you know exactly the value of the products you have in your organization. You may have to calculate the yields, what you get from processing different products. So when we purchase some broccoli, we're not going to necessarily get to sell every single ounce of that broccoli. We may actually find that we have some wastage. Now, it could be possible that you might be able to find other methods for the wastage, so the stem could possibly be made into a broccoli soup. But you also need to work out how much money are you going to get from selling the whole broccoli florets versus the broccoli soup. It may be that it comes out with different amounts on either side. So you have to be able to work out these things, especially as someone like an executive chef, and exactly what you're going to need to purchase in order to get the yield that you're looking for. Then you'll need to be able to convert recipes. What happens if I need to make 120 cookies, but this recipe only makes 12? Well, in that simple setting, you just need to multiply that recipe by 10. But can you do that? You have to make sure that you're able to. That's where we practice a lot of these types of things in the kitchen, where you may not have a regular recipe just to work from. You may need to convert that recipe to exactly what you require for your yield at the end. So as managers, because this is culinary arts management that we're looking to develop here, is that we want for you to be able to develop your ability to analyze and problem solve. So as supervisors and managers, you would be expected to do this. There are lots of positions in an organization as you get farther up that this is critical to their abilities. Well, if you're looking to get onto that next rung in your career, you need to start using your brain and actually paying more attention to more than just what's right in front of you, just in case if people start asking you to try and help solve some issues that they have and try and find a solution. Always try and walk to your manager, and if you have a problem, go to them with a solution too. You'd be amazed at just how much of a difference it can make if you go to someone in authority and you say, this is a problem, but I think I have a solution for you. You may find you're able to actually shape your environment by doing this type of thing. So we have to have some basic skills in order to be able to operate well when we're in these organizations. And depending on whether you are in the front of house or back of house, where exactly you are, these skills can vary widely.
A career is the profession or job that you choose. That career has a pathway, and along it you will develop a series of skills that help you advance down that path. You will work hard to learn and develop these skills. They are the key to opening up the next level of advancement. Some skills you learn early on in your education, like reading and writing. Communicating effectively is also key. This includes skills like listening and following directions. Developing the ability to speak with consideration and empathy is important too. Great communication skills lead to great teamwork. Be a team player. Be willing to share the workload and even take on more than your share, if that's what it takes to get the job done. Every step along your path is made easier by a positive attitude. Everyone values a person who is enthusiastic and optimistic. your boss, guests, and coworkers. Who wants to work with a grump? And you will learn to challenge yourself to stay on the sunny side even when the going gets tough. Be ready and willing to learn from everything. There are infinite ways to perform tasks, and just as many people and places to learn from. Learning new things will help advance your career. Technology is a skill high in demand in just about every job. Get to know how computers play a role in your job. For example, servers place orders on computers and cashiers use computerized cash machines. And remember to keep learning about new technologies. You will learn to apply math skills in real-life scenarios. From costing menus to weighing out portions, your math skills can make or break an operation. You will learn that if there is a problem, you should try to solve it. Push yourself to think critically. Employers value those that can offer a fresh outlook. Know your tools and/or other equipment, such as the different knives you may use. Develop your techniques. Equipment knowledge and application make you the kind of asset employers want. Food safety is the law of the land in the restaurant and food service industry. Knowing how and why the rules apply to each and every scenario puts you on the fast track to success. Know your products and how to handle them. This knowledge can produce high-quality food consistently, and servers who know details about menu items better meet their guests' needs. This can also help keep guests with food allergies safe. Give great service to guests, coworkers, and employers alike. Satisfaction means success, and you need to aim to please. Throughout your road to career success, take every opportunity to learn and grow. Developing these skills is a process, but a positive outlook can make the ride a little smoother.
So there are certain things like food safety knowledge that you absolutely have to know about. And that's why we study for the Serve Safe certifications, because this is fundamental to what we need both in the front of house and back of house. There are so many jobs in the hospitality industry that are directly related to this that it's vital. It's also, as a supervisor or a manager, in some way a team leader, that you have to know this information so that you can make sure that your staff are also performing safely in everything that we do. And we're keeping the food safe, we're keeping our servers safe, we're keeping our customers safe. You have to know about your product. So your product may be the sleeping rooms in a hotel. The product may be the menu with the foods that you're serving. Maybe the menu of the foods you're cooking. Or it may be the various different beverages available on the bar that you're serving from. It could be a wide variety of different things that could be products. That product could be a service as well. But we have to know about that type of thing so that we're able to talk with guests about that, and so that guests understand what's available, and also what type of things can be done to make their stay even better. We also always want to be looking to produce high quality with all of our products that we have, and keeping everything safe. We want to be able to make a commitment to our hospitality industry career. And this is where it comes in that we want to put in our best effort to try and do the best we possibly can so that we'll get farther. So even while we're in school, we can be working part-time. And so this actually can be a great way to not only get experience, but to make some good pocket money too. Say if you go on to college and you're in college in the hospitality field, the fact is that anybody who directly comes out of college without any experience will not be hired as quickly as someone who has experience, even if it's in a slightly different area, whether or not it's directly related to customers, or if it's working in back of house areas. All of these can give you some different skill sets that you're going to need, especially some soft skills that can include being able to communicate effectively with others and work as part of a team. You need to be able to take on challenges that those careers are going to give you, and you need to be active. You need to be part of all of it. You want to be volunteering in the community. The payback that can come from volunteering and working in the community to help your own community can be enormous, and you can find that you can make the most amazing connections when you do these types of things. You should constantly be researching, reading, and learning about anything that interests you. It keeps your brain active, and it also helps you to constantly gain more knowledge as you work and as you learn. You must have those basic computer skills, and you must be open to be able to learn new types of skills in that kind of setting as well, and take advantage of all opportunities that arise. When I was in culinary school, there were several other courses that came up that were available for me to be able to take. Some students did, some students didn't. I personally took every single one that was offered to me. It kept me very busy because I also had a part-time job at the same time. But I can tell you that the amount of benefit that I got from it has taken me all the way through my career. So what's a mentor? So a mentor is a wise advisor. So it's someone who's already taken that path. They've already seen a lot of the things that you're going to see during your career. Let's take a little look in more detail about what a mentor is and can do for you.
Number 1. They've been there and done that. The biggest advantage of having a mentor is they've already achieved something that you yourself are pursuing, which means that in a similar fashion, they have already gone through the struggles you're facing right now or are about to face. They made mistakes and also found creative solutions along the way. A mentor will share these insights with you, decreasing the time it takes for you to reach their level and maximize your chances of success. Number 2. You can talk to someone who is an unbiased third party. A mentor should be straightforward and provide unbiased advice. They're not your mother and will not put your personal feelings above facts. This is incredibly valuable because most people around you are emotionally invested in you as an individual, but a mentor has the ability to look at the past and judge your efforts for what they really are. No matter your business idea, you are less likely to get a real response from your loved ones or your inner circle because they want to support you. Guess what? The world cares about results and not particularly about you. Your mentor will provide that balance. Number 3. They have a whole different network of contacts and connections that you don't. Your mentor is already swimming with bigger fish. In their journey, they've already acquired a variety of contacts that could be out of reach for someone like you. A mentor can facilitate access and open doors for you, giving you the right amount of an edge to make it. In your journey, you as well will grow your network. But how awesome is it that if deemed worthy, someone is providing you with the access that your competitors might be struggling to get? Never underestimate the power of someone else's network, and you should have a strong focus on developing your own. Number 4. It's the best free service you could ever get. Most mentors only want to see you do well. A real mentor wants you to succeed, not for their financial gain, at least not the first time around. There are people called consultants, which you can pay hefty sums of money for them to go through your day-to-day business and see if they can spot any vulnerabilities or points to optimize. Usually these consultants are book smart, and although their advice is valuable, they lack the street smarts needed to make it happen for themselves. That's how they ended up working for the company in question. A true mentor doesn't need you to pay them for their advice. They're satisfied with just seeing you succeed. Number 5. Your mentor may introduce you to a career path or business opportunity that you did not know existed before. One of the really incredible things about mentors is their ability to spot opportunities that you would have never seen otherwise. Because they went through it before and they have a deeper understanding of the game than you do, they can connect multiple dots which are out of reach for a beginner entrepreneur. They are proof of concept. They are a living example that you can make it in a new industry and will advise you on the right ways to go about it. They will take you under their wing and provide you with the tools for growth and development. Your job is to listen to them and trust their more developed instincts.
So this mentor is a wise advisor to you, someone who can guide you through that path because they've been there before. So they already have an established career. They've already enjoyed all of the great things that can come from a really good career. They already understand the challenges as well. And sometimes they can help you to sidestep or get through those challenges with a little less grit between your teeth. So these mentors can be a personal mentor or a professional mentor, kind of like a coach that helps you get through what you need to. They can give you those insights and provide you with feedback, with honest feedback, with feedback that's not coming from someone who just loves you like your mother or your father or a great friend, who won't necessarily be honest because they just want to be nice. Sometimes you need to be told the truth, and sometimes you need to have a mentor tell you that what you're doing isn't right, or that that's not the best way, and maybe there is another way. So let's take a look at a few things that you may not have considered in the hospitality industry that could be opportunities that you could take up on. So these are certainly there are some long-term career opportunities that offer some options which aren't normally thought of necessarily in what we look at for hospitality, and that can include things like a food scientist. So it's incredible what we can actually purchase now that can actually be a huge convenience to us, or may have a higher nutritional value, or it may be something that's cheaper, or something that's better quality, and it's been created through science. A great example of this actually is if you look at just a regular sponge cake. If you try to make a regular sponge cake, you'll find it very difficult to match the science that's in a box cake. It's surprisingly easy to make a very, very consistent vanilla sponge from a packet mix, and much, much harder to do it from scratch. Now, you may have differing opinions on this, but the fact is that science can help with certain things. You can have a nutritionist or a dietitian. You can actually train in those areas, and you can work in places like hospitals, where you can actually assist people who are rehabilitating from different issues, and try and help them to advance in their life. You can also be in culinary research and development. If you work for an airline or for a company that makes foods for airlines, there is huge money that's put into research and development of the foods that are served on those airlines to try and improve it and create something which is a better quality, and something that tastes good while you're that high up in the air. There are other things in this actual locality close to us. There's an organization that makes some really good herbs and spice blends to create really good seasonings. The research and development that goes into those are done by culinarians who have a definite great taste ability, a great palate to be able to taste through these things and figure out what's going to work best on certain food products and in certain cooking techniques. Also, some other things to be able to consider is if you're looking to do something in engineering or creating different facilities. These are part of hospitality. If you look at the hotels in Vegas and around the world that have been designed, these are all done by engineers and architects from around the world who specialize in the hospitality industry. Marketing and sales is massive in the hospitality industry. There are incredible opportunities to be able to jump into that as well. And then accounting and financial management. The fact is, these massive hotels, these clubs, and these restaurant companies, they have to financially account for everything. And they have to create systems that account for all these things. So this is something that can be a great career that you can have in this area. And then human resources. Because besides the food which is created, in general in hospitality, the biggest product that is produced is service. And that involves a human being interacting with another human being to create an incredible impression. This is all about the resources of those individuals. And so there must be someone who takes care of those individuals, and that's where human resources comes in. So if you're an owner or an operator of a business or an entrepreneur, then you're generally someone who is taking some risks. You're generally someone who is willing to stick their neck out because they are self-driven. And so if this is you, then this could be something great that you could look into in the hospitality industry. So generally, this is someone who is looking to own or run their own business. they're dedicated to that business, because I can tell you, if you own your own business, you're going to be thinking it, drinking it, and eating it, and sleeping it, and probably not sleeping much, while you're getting that kind of business up and running and to where it needs to be, from that fledgling business into a fully operating organization. This generally is someone who's going to be a very self-motivated type of an individual. You have to be organized and committed. You have to have some strong business knowledge. You need to get some experience with someone else's organization first before you jump into this type of thing, so you understand the best things to do and the worst things to do. Because taking these risks could leave you with nothing, but it could take you in the exact opposite direction of absolute success too. So let's take a look at some different levels of managers that work in the industry. So you have district managers. So a district manager is someone who is responsible for multiple operations. As we looked on the Hilton video, there was one gentleman who was in charge of hotels that operated in 30 separate countries. This is a massive organization to be working with. But that district manager would generally be in charge of a smaller grouping, but for multiple operations, working with both officers and general managers to make sure that that everything is working within the guidelines of that organization. And it has you must have solid leadership skills in order to succeed with this. You have lots of people relying on you for everything, and you must be able to be there to give good answers, sometimes on the fly. You have to be able to make decisions on certain things that may come up, that you have to understand the business well enough to be able to give a valid answer that won't be detrimental to the business. So a general manager is generally in charge of one part or one location of that business. They're in charge of the overall planning, direction, and coordination of that business too. They may do some hiring, certainly of the higher up individuals who will be working right below that general manager. They're also in charge of promoting and possibly terminating employees as well. Generally, their day-to-day operations will not be anything to do with the day-to-day functions of the organization at a lower level. That's then going to be left to their managers, who they would hire. So those individual managers are then going to have their responsibilities divided into more specific areas. So say in the front of house of a restaurant, you may have a restaurant manager, you may have a bar manager. You may then also have someone who manages the staff who are greeting and seating over at the front. So you would have in those different areas responsibilities of hiring and supervising those specific staff members, of training those staff members and making sure that they are have the aptitude to be able to do their jobs, and if not, then retraining them and making sure that they're always up to date on everything they need to know. You have to maintain your area of the operation, making sure that everything is properly cleaned, properly maintained, and properly organized. You have to make sure that any food safety or any other safety areas are addressed and always maintained as well, and making sure that the guests and employees are always safe. You cannot have an organization that's not safe. Even if it's the best restaurant in the world, it will not stay in business if it's not safe. You will also possibly be working with the marketing and promotions of that part of the business too. You may even have some input in those things, or you may just be following through on protocols linked to them. You have to ensure that the profits are maintained and that costs are kept down and under control. This is key to that business staying in business, is that business must make a profit, and it must keep their control under over those costs to make sure that they can't spiral out of control to where that business could be in jeopardy. You may also be involved in purchasing and storing food and beverage products. So an assistant manager. So an assistant manager is generally an individual who is going to help the managers right above them. This is generally a training type of position. This is a position where you're getting ready to take on the next step. This is a position that you're given if you have the right attitude and you have the capabilities, but you're just looking to be able to move up and be able to help other individuals in that organization. The more you push to actually get into these types of positions, the more help you may get from other mentors who may be willing to help you to get to where you need to be. Just make sure you have the right attitude towards the people who are working with you. Make sure that you don't suddenly start seeing them as subservient to you, because as an assistant manager, you should be working with them because your team will also help to build you to where you need to be as well. So you need to be working with focus on certain areas. So it may be within the specific catering area, beverage, kitchen, housekeeping, or dining room. These are key areas if you're in a hotel. So an executive chef is part of the management team. They're generally seen as a senior staff manager. They're supervising all the kitchen employees, they're purchasing food supplies, and they'll be making all the decisions about menu items and exactly how to build all of those menus. Now they will also rely heavily on their right hand, and the right hand is also known as a sous chef. So the sous chef, sous meaning under, sous chef is in charge of the kitchen in the executive chef's absence. Very often the sous chef will also be given other responsibilities, possibly assisting with scheduling other chefs in the kitchen, but their day-to-day responsibility is making sure that the kitchen is operating to maximum capability. This can also involve them helping with food preparation and production as well. So in larger hotels and clubs, you'll find that there are also banquet chefs. So this is where we would have large catered parties, weddings, and various things like that going on. This is where you'd have a banquet chef who specializes in producing significant amounts of food for those parties. So like I said, these generally are in hotels or private clubs, and they work with the catering department. The catering department are the individuals who are actually organizing the events with the guests who are putting them on. A pastry chef. A pastry chef is someone who is in charge of all of the pastry and baking production for that kitchen. So this may involve from cake preparations to dessert preparations, as well as breads and various things like that too. So station cooks. So these are individuals who are in charge of a section, also known as a chef de partie. And so a chef de partie would be in charge of a section in the kitchen, and that may be pantry, which is also known as garde-manger, or the roast or sauce and stocks, vegetables, and pastry. So those individuals will be in charge of those areas and will specialize in those areas. So a very important part of being in the hospitality industry is to understand how physically and mentally demanding it can be. In order to be able to long-term be able to cope with this type of a situation, you have to learn how to find balance and be able to take care of yourself in mind and body. You have to stay healthy and be strong so that you're able to keep up with work life as well as creating that balance as well. You have to eat right. In order for us to be able to long-term work in this industry and work under the stresses and the hours that are demanded of us, you have to be able to eat correctly so that way you're feeding and nurturing your body rather than just allowing your body to start disintegrating literally before your eyes because you're consuming the wrong foods. You shouldn't just be eating food for sustenance, you should be eating food that you enjoy, because as someone in the hospitality industry, you should be inspired by food. But there are certain foods which help us to grow strong, and there are other foods which work in the opposite direction that can end up being fairly toxic to our bodies. We should try and eat right to avoid disease and maintain our energy levels that we need to work and inspire our teams. We need to be able to get regular exercise. This is good for the body, it's good for strengthening you, it's good for maintaining you. It's also a good way for you to be able to let off steam if you need to, because you're being put under so much pressure. It leads to more good energy that you can actually develop as well. you can come away with a clear mind and able to think issues through. One suggestion, take the stairs. Rather than always jumping in the elevator, always take the stairs. It just adds a few extra minutes of exercise onto your day, and it can make a world of a difference. Finding that work-life balance. Preventing burnout, because in a high-profile position which has a lot of stress involved in it, you could find that literally in a very short period of time, you just don't want to work in that position anymore. If you can find a good work-life balance to where outside of work you do something entirely different, which is things that you love and enjoy, and not just sitting in front of a TV to unwind, this involves actually finding other passions, so that way when you do go back to work, you feel refreshed and ready to go. But let's take a look and try and figure out some ways to take advantage of resources that are out there to help us to find that balance. So you should be looking for ways to relax and recharge. There are health and wellness programs that lots of organizations, such as Hilton and Marriott, and lots of these larger hospitality companies do. Make sure you always use your vacation time too. After you've been working in an establishment for a year or two, they're probably going to start offering you a week or two of vacation. It's very easy to say, you know what, I don't need that. I need to earn more money, so I'm just going to go ahead and go into work. Or you may feel the pressure to, I can't let those guys down and take a week off or take even a day off. It's important that you use your vacation time, because that's what it's there for, is so that you can continue to work in that stressful environment and maintain that work-life balance in order for you to be able to be there long term. Otherwise you will burn out, and you'll find that you won't be able to maintain that team and work with that team anymore. Substance abuse is massively problematic in our industry. This is something that you need to try and avoid. And this runs from just things like smoking cigarettes all the way through to taking drugs and trying to self-medicate, possibly with alcohol and various things like that. I can tell you from experience, seeing others, they can literally ruin their careers and their lives and their families' lives by going down this route. You need to avoid these types of things, because these things will not give you the energy, they'll not give you the personality, and they will not give you the ability to do your job better and to be able to perform to where you need to be. You will crash and burn. So you need to be able to make good choices, make sure that you're always making legal choices, and maintain your health. Your health is the best thing that you can do to be able to maintain your life in a great standing. So when we start looking at your personal finances, you're going to find you're going to get raises. You're going to do a great job, you're going to work hard, and your boss is going to recognize you for that. And you're going to get a little more money, and then a little more money, until you get to a position where, hey, I've actually got a little bit of money to spend. This can be a critical time. This can be a time when you can make some great plans for the future. You can start maybe looking at the opportunity of buying a nice car, buying a nice house, and moving up in your life. This can also be when massive mistakes can be made as well. In the United States in general, we take on too much debt, and we start looking at ways to get a little bit too much too quickly. Always be very guarded at this, because this in its own can create more stress than anything else. One of the biggest reasons for marriages and relationships breaking down comes down to money. You need to be able to start working on ways early on in your career to save some money and to be able to put things back, so that way you can save towards things that you want and to be able to live a healthy financial life too. I have someone that I'd like to introduce you to.
James Scurlock's remarkable documentary shines the light of truth on a national tragedy. Many Americans are drowning in debt, way too many, and something has to be done to stem this tide. I know about this personally. I was a millionaire starting from nothing by age 26, and I was broke again by 30. I crashed, I splatted, I did stupid with zeros on the end, and then I started over, and I was a millionaire again by the time I was 40. That time I did it with no debt, because I don't borrow money. I crashed and burned, but I learned. Believe me, I learned. And for almost 15 years now, I have sat at a broadcast desk like this, doing our talk radio show 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, listening to the pain and heartbreak of literally hundreds of thousands of Americans. Millions of them listening in while I do that. Sure, I give advice, but first I listen. Never stop listening. Winning at money, personal finance, wealth building is 80% behavior. It's only 20% head knowledge. If you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting. If you really want a different result, you've got to get knowledge, yes. More importantly, you have to change your behavior permanently. When my wife Sharon and I did that, it revolutionized our lives. Personal finance isn't rocket science. It's just common sense. It's how your grandparents lived. If you don't have the money, you can't buy it. Hey, there's a neat idea. You know, you can learn how to handle money. You can change your behaviors. You can do it. Where do you start, though? Well, here's some practical ideas that our team members teach all across the nation every day. First, stop the bleeding. You can't get out of a hole while you're digging out the bottom. Cut up your credit cards. That's right. Plastic surgery, a plastectomy. You learn the difference between wants and needs, and for now, you only buy what you really need, and even if you're going to buy a want, you only do it with cash. And start using cash more. We suggest you use a thing called the envelope system, where you put cash in some envelopes for some of your spending categories, and you write on them what the money's for. On your food envelope, you write food. And then you can only buy food out of the food envelope. And you can't buy clothes out of the food envelope. And you can't buy food out of the clothes envelope. No cheating. And when that envelope's empty, I don't care if the shirt's on sale. Shut up. You can't buy it. That's how it works. Then get on a budget. We recommend a zero-based budget. Spend your whole paycheck on paper before the month begins. Give every dollar a name. Every dollar has a predestination. You gotta love it. Hey, if you don't have a job, get one. We recommend a program we call the baby steps, because you can walk all the way around the world if you do it one step at a time, step by step by step. And cleaning up and winning with money is the same way. We have 7 baby steps we want to walk you through. Baby step 1, start a beginner baby emergency fund of $1,000. Really quickly, I want you to get a $1,000 rainy day fund just to keep the little emergencies from becoming new debt. Number 2, set up a plan to get out of debt. We use a thing we call the debt snowball, where you list your debts smallest to largest, pay minimum payments on everything but the little one, and attack the little one with a vengeance. When that one's gone, you take the payments you used to pay there, and you attack the next one down. When that one's gone, you take the payments from 1 and 2, and you attack number 3. And you work all of your debts off except your house using the debt snowball. And you do that with real focus, intensity. This, I've had it, and I'm getting out of debt. Then once you finish baby step 2 and you're out of debt, everything but the house, you go back to that $1,000 account in baby step 3 and raise it up to 3 to 6 months of expenses. Once you've done that, then you move on to baby step 4, which is 15% of your income into retirement. 5 is saving for your kids' college, if that applies to your situation. 6 is pay off the house early. You know, we're teaching people this all over America. They're paying off their homes in 7, 8, 9 years. How cool is that? And without a house payment, you move on to the last baby step. Baby step 7 is become very wealthy and give a bunch of it away.
So overall, what's the big thing that we need to look at? Find that job that makes you happy. If you're happy in your job and you love your job, then guess what? Every day of the week, you don't work. You go somewhere where you enjoy being. And you work with great people, and you will never work a day in your life. If you just settle for something just because you figured it would make you more money today, and then you end up finding out you don't really enjoy the job, but you just do it for the money. After a while, that money, it might be fine, but you'll get bored. You won't be satisfied. You won't be fully ready to want to advance your career. So make sure that you find a great job. Make sure that the kind of industry that you're working in and the kind of business you're working in has a culture that fits your personality. If you don't fit in, there must be somewhere where you will. Make sure that when it comes to things like stress, that you're able to be able to cope with that. It's really important because every single day in this industry, there are huge amounts of stress that exceed the resources that are available. But you have to figure out a way to be able to manage all of this. There are tools available for you to be able to deal with these things. So if you're dealing with huge amounts of stress, you may find that you're more irritable, that you suffer from depression, you may have headaches, indigestion, you may have pain in your neck or your lower back, And your appetite might be kind of funky, and you may not be able to sleep properly at night either. You need to make sure that you're able to manage all of this. Identify what's causing that stress, because it may be something that's really fairly minor that someone can help you with. Sometimes you just need to reach out to get that assistance. There are certain strategies that you can apply to manage these types of stress and minimize the effects of them. Time management is a huge tool to work towards. Time management very often is an issue that a lot of people deal with, where they're allowing too much time to go on things that are a lot less relevant to what they really need to get done. And so that means that there's not enough time to get the most important things done before the day is gone. We need to waste less time on the unimportant activities and the unavoidable problems. The fact is, if we make plans for certain things, then it could be that we can mitigate just how long we spend on those unavoidable problems that come up. And then we start looking for other ways to build our ability to handle any of these issues that pop up. So skills that you need for effective time management is planning. If you plan for things, then you can plan to succeed. If you're planning for things that go wrong, then you can plan to succeed again by overcoming those problems. Set goals. And that goal may be very small, one step at a time. But the fact is, setting priorities within the actual items that you need to get done can mean that you prioritize the most important thing first, and then if you get to the least important things, then that's great. If you don't, they're less important anyway. Delegating is also a big challenge for a lot of people. Delegating is when you use your team to their fullest potential. You are not weak because you don't get every single thing done. You are weak if you don't ask for help. If you go to others who have skills in certain areas where you're lacking, you may find that they can assist you in getting things done more efficiently. That's all about using your team to their fullest potential to make you look good and to help you to achieve your goals. So there's also going to be lots of self-development opportunities in the industry. And there are lots of organizations, publications, and online groups that are available, professional organizations as well, that are specific for culinary, that are specific for private clubs and hospitality in general, as well as restaurant and lodging. There's lots of certifications. You guys are studying right now for ProStart and for ServeSafe. But there are lots of others as well. Club Managers Association has a CCM designation. You can become a Master Chef with the American Culinary Federation and other federations as well. There's lots of continuing education. As I mentioned earlier, we should never be standing still. We should never assume that we've done it all and we've seen it all and we know it all, because we just don't. It's never going to be the case. Networking can be one of your biggest strategies to building your career and building your ability to jump up that ladder quicker. Connecting with people is a big deal. This is where you may be able to find that mentor that you've been looking for. Build relationships with fellow colleagues and be able to bounce ideas off other people who may have already done some things that you're struggling with and found a way to get through. I use this every day in my life. I communicate and network with all of the other culinary chefs in the state because they have amazing ideas on things that have worked for them in the past. And so we share those ideas. That's how we all grow and advance together. Always be looking out for industry updates, various different things that can come out of maybe the National Restaurant Association, Club Managers Association, American Culinary Federation, lots of different organizations that keep us up to date on all sorts of new things that are coming. You want to have a greater knowledge and skill base to be able to learn from all of these other individuals, and it also promotes dialogue among professionals. These individuals all have something in common with you, and they all want to chat. So different types of networking methods we can have is going to conferences, sitting in on classes, going to trade shows, going to different community events where you can mingle with others who have like ideas. different state and local restaurant association meetings. South Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association is very strong, but I know across the United States there are equally strong parts of the organization there too. Volunteer your time. It's amazing how all of a sudden you may volunteer your time in different organizations that have nothing to do with the hospitality industry, and you may make other connections that can benefit you in your day-to-day life. And then visiting competitors. Go have a look, see what they're doing. What is it that they're doing that's better than you, and see if it's something you can replicate or possibly take, improve, and use. So the hospitality industry is just full of opportunity. It's incredible from top to bottom, from the smallest, humblest places of small mom-and-pop restaurants, all the way up to multinational hotel corporations that give you the ability to travel the world, and everything in between. Just when you thought that there wasn't something for you, you may be surprised. Take advantage of all of these things. I hope to see you around soon. Cheers.